Balcones' first ever year-round bourbon was an inspiration. It all had to work together. A blend of carefully selected ingredients, Texas-sized pot stills, and creative people determined to find the absolute best way to usher a new whiskey along. When you discover how it pairs with a meaningful moment, suddenly the feeling of drinking great whiskey becomes a whole lot more.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Whiskey Neat, spirited conversations with interesting people. I am your host, Kristopher Hart, and as you can see, we had so much fun during the episode that they stuck around for the intro. So, as second-time guest, Dusti Rhodes, comedian. I don't say female comic because I'm progressive, and and Andrew Youngblood. Andrew owns the Secret Group, co-owner of the Secret Group, Eat It, Stephen Brandau, and the next week they have a festival coming up called the Come and Take It Comedy Festival, right? Comedy Festival, would you say? Yeah, we'll keep it. Comedy Festival. So if you've never been to one, you know that I'm a huge fan of comedy. I love going to comedy shows, which has a pretty strict format of like opener, feature act, and then the main act. This is a full-on 3-day not whiskey festival, that's my thing. A full-on, see, this is why we do it at the end. A full-on 3-day comedy festival that takes place in East Downtown. Is it Edo? I always forget. Edo. And it's got an insane lineup of more than, 30 comics, 40 comics?
I think it's Edo.
Is it Edo? All right, we'll say Edo for now. All right, so we talk about the upcoming comedy festival. This is now like in its fourth or fifth iteration, fifth annual, we'll say that. And we just talk about what it's like being a comic and running a comic venue here in Houston, which has seen a tremendous explosion of attention in the comedy scene the last month. And yeah, we share a few drinks. We open an old bottle of a Beam. Of course, you know, I've talked about the pear brandy from Copper and Kings. I'm a huge fan. Andrew's not a fan of Amrut. He's not a fan of Scotch. I'm a huge fan of Amrut, and so is Dusti. And of course, Balcones Rum, Buffalo Trace. We just have a good discussion talking about what it's like running the comedy scene here in Houston. So let's read through our ads. So this week's show is, as always, sponsored by Terlato Distell Artisan Spirits, leader in premium artisan products like Bunnahabhain, Deanston, Ledaig, Tobermory, Bains, Black Bottle, and of course, Scottish Leader. You can pick up the entire line at your local liquor store, or if you are a retailer, reach out to your United Wine and Spirits rep. Of course, you know Balcones. I said that weird. You can just cut that out. Of course, you know Balcones. Big fan of the show, as you saw at the opening. And yeah, I don't have to read that. We love them. And of course, Whiskey Neat is supported by the Inspired Spirits at Glass Rev Imports and Amrut Distilleries. We love featuring Amrut whiskeys on the show. Amrut Craft Single Malt Whisky to the exacting standards of Scotch. If you need proof, well, at this year's Proof Awards, Amrut Fusion received double gold, 96 points, in a blind tasting with 30 industry judges. Fusion also was declared World Whiskey of the Year at the Bartender Spirits Awards. And look, I've said it a million times, I'm a huge fan. We've actually got some new Amruts coming into town this week. So, of course, on the next episode, you will see a couple new expressions coming out that I'm excited to talk about. And that pretty much covers all of our bases. Houston Whiskey Social, our whiskey festival tickets are on sale now, February 8th, HoustonWhiskeySocial.com. We're expecting 1,500 people, 400 whiskeys, just a night of beautiful, beautiful love for barrel-aged spirits. We didn't talk about that, but I run a whiskey festival, so if you want to come do not shots at February 8th, I'd love to have you out at my event.
Tell me not to do shots.
But without further ado, Andrew Youngblood and Dusti Rhodes. Cheers. We'll start with this. So this is not whiskey, but I'm a huge fan of Copper and Kings, and this is a pear brandy at cask strength. So it's basically a pear whiskey. So if you like whiskey and you drink it neat, you may really enjoy the taste of cooked pears.
I mean, I'm all for it.
All right, let's do it.
I just need whiskey. I need my medicine. Should I smell
So,
it?
I already
cheers. Yeah,
drank
go ahead.
mine.
Oh, you already okay? Here. I'll give you a little more.
Yeah,
Ooh. That's why I Ubered.
Yeah, and I also brought a there's some extra glasses there, so if you want to dump something out if you don't care for it, or if you don't want to get completely irresponsibly enamored here, then
I feel weird, like I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to do.
Cheers.
Like, should I be tasting this, or in my
What do
brain
I
I'm
do
like,
with
just
my
shoot,
hands?
just give it a shot.
and the old
Just-
Andrew
yeah.
Youngblood.
Yeah.
oh, I always forget not to do that sound, and Jack always looks at me. Oh yeah. Oh, you shot it. Okay.
That's the funny thing.
okay.
Okay. Andrew's like, I've been drinking whiskey for years, always in shot form. I don't know how to
Yeah.
be civilized.
That's not civilized, all right? I did swish it around a little bit. You could put it in slow motion.
I
Check
didn't
it
realize
out.
that's what we were doing. I mean,
I didn't know that's what we weren't doing.
You're more than welcome to shoot it, but as soon as you said "oof," like I knew.
Yeah.
It's cast strength. I want to say it's
Got
like
to
60,
eat today.
That's great.
My stomach's warm.
109
Right
proof.
now.
Oh yeah, that'll warm you up.
109 proof. That's
109
good.
proof. So a little 50.
It tastes delicious.
4.5. You want a little more? You want to?
Maybe slow down.
What else you got here? I got.
Whoa, you got more. Yeah, maybe we
So I
should.
got some traditional
Oh, there
Buffalo
you
Trace
go.
here. The only
I'm
bourbon
really
with
excited
balls.
about the beans.
So yeah, I brought a vintage beam here. The Duck collection. They used to, for years, whiskey producers were making more whiskey than they could sell, so they would put it in everything, right? So they would put them in all forms of decanters. I've got a couple old cars, train sets, animals, pieces of work. So they had this guy. I want to say his last name it's Lockhart, right? Yeah. Jay Lockhart. He did a whole painting series on the most realistic ducks he's ever painted, and they decided to put it on bourbon
I like how
bottles.
they put all three of them back there, so it's like, collect them all.
That's exactly
This is
what they
great.
did back then. They put them in literally everything just to get people to buy them.
I once bought tequila out of a bottle that was shaped like a gun.
Yeah.
I have
it was awful.
because my aunt was a huge Elvis Presley fan. I have a bottle of vodka that's shaped like Elvis Presley. It's still in the box.
My grandma would love that.
Yeah.
She loves alcohol and Elvis. That's-
They did everything they could to basically get rid of stock that they. But then at the same
Wow.
time, they would water it down to 80 proof, which was, if you're having trouble selling stuff, watering it down is not gonna.
Is the bottle like ceramic?
Yeah. So it's ceramic,
Okay.
and I don't know if it's a coating or.
It looks like it's painted.
I mean, I doubt he
'Cause
painted
we'll
each
look-
individual bottle.
I mean, maybe like a spray. Because if you
know.
look, you can see you can see where it's not done well, like right up here, and then like on the corner, you can like see through the paint, kind of.
Sure.
I
Well,
don't know.
I'm going to open it and let it breathe while we
Yeah.
talk. So let's talk about next week. Dusti, second time guest.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Youngblood,
First time.
first time. And would you say co-owner of the secret group?
Yeah, I would
Co-owner?
say that.
Yeah? Would that be appropriate?
Yeah.
So
Some people have no idea who owns the secret. They're like
Yeah.
any.
They'll
they
just be
know-
like, they'll just
they're
name
just
a
like,
comic. They're like, that guy owns
a
a
secret
No.
group of comics
Yeah.
own
Yeah.
the secret
Yeah.
group. So it's funny. I've been going to the secret group for years, not knowing anything about it, who owned it, what it was, and I've always wondered, which Dusti explained in the last
That's
episode.
why I was on the last episode, because you were at the secret group.
Yeah, so I recognized you. I went for an open mic to support my buddy Charlie. I ended up doing an open mic set. It went decently well. And I remembered how much I loved going there. So I recognized you. I reached out to you. I was like, dude, it'd be so great to get you on. And the secret group, so for years I've been listening to podcasts talk about, anytime someone was coming into town, they would almost make jokes about it because they whoever the hired comedian was that was
Yeah.
coming in, whether it be Christina Pashitsky or some people who were not Houston based, they had no. Not would make fun of it, but kind of tease the name because they weren't sure,
lot.
so they weren't.
What's the secret? Oh, secret's out now. That's like the biggest one. The Uber drivers are the best. If you ever, I'm sure you've taken
Yeah.
Uber there, and they're always like, "So what's the secret group?"
Yeah, what is
And they're like,
it?
"Not a very good secret." That's the biggest joke
the
over and over.
beat to death joke.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, all right, enough. I get it.
Yeah.
And it really, I think it's really funny when big comics that I respect, I hear them do those jokes. I was like,
Oh, come on,
I
man.
expect better than you. Yeah. I expect better from you. So what's happening next weekend?
we have the Come and Take It Comedy Festival. It is our fifth 4th or 5th. I don't know anything anymore.
Think about it because
We did 2 one year, and then we didn't do one year. It was very confusing time for us. And but it's the festival we've been doing for a while now. It's Josh Wolf, Andy Kindler, Daniel Van Kirk.
There's like
Dulce
30 comics on
Sloan.
there.
There's like 60 total, probably. A lot of local. It's heavy local, but we also have some great people from Austin, Dallas, and also some people that you might not have heard of from all over the country that are comics that are like just at the level. Like some of them have late night sets,
Sure.
but some of them are just like right there, and you will hear about
like Dulce
them.
Sloan's on the Daily Show.
Yeah, she's on it. She's one of the bigger names, I think,
Yeah.
on it. But there's it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a lot of cool shows. The goddamn Comedy Jam is really fun if you've never seen it.
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
Basically what it is a comic will come up and tell a story. Sometimes it's a bit. Sometimes it's just a story that's funny. And then after that, they have a full band behind them. And it's not karaoke. They just sing a song. They cover a song with this full band behind them. And it's usually pertaining to that story, which
Sure.
is really good. And there are some really cool surprises. I think that is going to be...
Well, I saw Bob Biggerstaff's coming back, Dale Cheeseman.
They're all coming back, which will be great. And
Ashton's coming back, and he
Yep.
just got a job writing for the Daily Show.
Which
He's like
is
a
great.
Houston comic, yeah.
Sure,
but yeah.
sure. I never heard. I've always loved Bob Biggerstaff. Dale Cheeseman. I've followed, and I saw him at we were just talking
Doug Love Movies?
Doug Loves Movies, and then he was like the next month he left Houston or whatever. He went to like New York or wherever, and so it's like right around the time that we started the show that we wanted to invite comedians on. First 2 people I reached out to, I wanted to talk to Dale and Bob. They had left.
That's funny.
So it was like, oh, okay, well, I'll just wait till the next time they're in town. And luckily, next week, we've got quite the... So I've never actually been to a comedy festival. I know how a typical set works where you've got like, your opener, your host, your opener, your feature act, and then the headliner. And there's variations from that. I've seen some comedians only bring just a feature act, and they'll go up and do 30, and then they'll do an hour or whatever.
Yeah.
How does it work for a comedy festival?
Well, normally, this is the first year we've done it like this. Normally what we've done in the past is we run it like a music festival where it's just like comic, and just like scheduled out like that. So, a lot of people are just doing 10-minute sets, and then we'll break it up with someone who's doing like a 40-minute set, like a headliner or
Sure.
something like that. With this one, we've actually broken it down into individual shows. So we'll be like, the cool thing about it is we understand that not everybody wants to come the entire weekend. They might want to just see a show or two. So you can buy individual tickets to these shows and just go and see. And I would say the main difference between a festival and an actual show is you're going to see more comics doing a lot of times shorter sets. You might have a headliner who's doing an hour long, but you're going to have 4 comics that are doing 10 minutes rather than having a feature comic doing 30. So you're going to get to see a lot of people that you didn't really know, and you're just going to
Find out about and learn,
You're going to see
yep.
a lot of comedy, and it's pretty cool.
The-
I do want to point out the goddamn Comedy Jam is, I think, going to be the coolest event in the festival because there's some really cool special guests, very Houston hip hop related, that will be popping in. I can't say who, but it's going to be awesome.
Does it rhyme with tall fall?
No,
As spit
I
all
will
over you.
say it is not Paul Wall.
Can you just list everybody it's not?
Yeah, well,
How many black guys do I know? I'm excited. I know that especially the last month, it seems like the comedy scene in Houston has had a lot of great surprises.
Yes.
I mean, I'm a little upset that I was so excited. I don't know what your feelings are on Louis C.K., but as soon as I announced that he was here, and I aimed that at you in general, not because you're female,
Yeah.
but when I heard he was coming into town, I was excited, and then of course we got in the World Series, and so then we're waiting for the reschedule.
Yeah.
And then Dave Chappelle dropped in 3, 4, 5 nights over the past month.
Yeah.
So it seems like Houston's getting this, and then I saw you featured in a couple Houston Chronicle articles. There was
Yeah, because he came. Yeah, so Mo Amir, who's a comic who regularly opens.
Big comic, huge
yeah,
comic.
yeah,
Yeah.
and regularly features for Dave, is a really good friend of mine. And since I started doing comedy, has just been.
Very
I wrote
supportive.
about him before I did comedy and I worked for the press. I wrote about him in a story that I did, and the minute that I started doing comedy, he was just immediately supportive. Sometimes giving me spots that at the time I just now looking back, I'm like, I did not deserve that. But just did it because because of the person he is. And so he just like messaged me and was just like, yeah, like, hey, how's the mic going? I was like, well, it's kind of winding down. He was like, if I bring Chappelle by, are there going to be people over there? And I was like, yes. I was like, so I just like ran downstairs and I told anyone that was at Rhodes, I was like, hey, Dave Chappelle's about to go on upstairs. And there was people like, no, he's not. I was like, why would I lie to you about it? Like, you think I just want a room full of people that are mad at me?
Just
like,
walk upstairs
yeah,
and they're like, I guess we'll stay. He's not here.
Exactly. I was just like, I'm not lying. And so I accidentally, right when he got on stage, posted on Instagram. And then Mo immediately was like, hey, can you take that down because we don't have a security here? And I was like, oh, crap. I was like, yeah, I'm sorry. So I took it down. But that was in time for some of the comics to see it and some of my friends to see it. And so then I got all these texts like, is he still there? And I was like, yeah, dude, come. I think he's going to do.
Greatest
he did
of all time,
2 hours.
Right?
Yeah. And he was just like it was like so funny. He was like talking to me from the stage. He was just like, Dusty, are you a teacher? I was like, yeah, man, it's fine. Just keep going, buddy.
He was making fun of you?
No, he was just asking me. He was like,
sure.
Are you a teacher? And he was like, you're still here? I was like,
oh, you got
sure
school in the morning?
Man, it's fine. It's fine.
Fuck those kids.
Yeah, exactly. I actually did call in the next day. I was just like,
That's
it was
funny.
too much of a night for me. I'll be all right. They'll be fine if I'm not there.
I mean,
for a
the
day.
scene here seems to be just. Would you say blessed would be because it's like a lot of great things are happening, but it's not. It's a lot of light is being shinned.
Shunned.
Shunned.
A lot of light is shunning us.
It's like what do you teach at school? English.
yeah.
Ah, god damn it. A lot of
Comedy Jam. It's gonna be great.
A lot of light is being shown on the city.
Yes, yeah. I think it's cool because like I think one of the things that, and we talked about this kind of the last time I was on, I think, is like, I think because for so long in Houston it was so like rough to do comedy and coming from like where Andrew and I started, like what the city was versus what it is now. Those people that were there before us and even with us realize how hard it was, and that's why we are so proud that when it's doing well to make sure people know it.
Know about it. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think when I started, I remember we just did everything ourselves. It's kind of like we just made all these shows. We're like, oh, that's how we're going to get shows, is we're just going to create them. And that's it. That's how the Secret Group ever started, is because we were all just like, yeah, this sucks. Like none of us would have done open mics. There was a time period where there was probably only 2 open mics, maybe 3 in Houston all week long.
And they were controlled by people who just wanted power and were less interested in the art.
They didn't really care about comedy.
Yeah, they just wanted that, and they didn't really care about like what's best for everybody. And so I think like that was the thing that I really like, and I'll go ahead and like brag on myself, but I think myself, and like that's why people like Andrew and I became friends, and Steven, and those of us that create those comedy shows, because we were like, no, we just want to have something that's good for everybody, because if everybody is in a situation that's good, everything gets better. And I think that it's like a position where like the people I'm friends with now, the reason I'm friends with them now is I know that they're not putting on shows or starting mics or doing anything to get power over anybody. They're just like, no, I just want good comedy in the city. I want it to be good. Yeah.
That's the problem that I've noticed when it comes to anything like this, whether it's comedy or like the whiskey community.
Yeah.
There's the people who are making things happen that are just trying to create moments, create shows, create gatherings, bring things to the city.
Community.
Someone or some people, plural, they think there's got to be an ulterior motive. Like they're trying to figure out what is his deal. Why are you creating this? Well, because there wasn't that before.
Yeah.
Well, nah, but you're doing this for some other reason, you know. All right, let's get into this beam.
Let's do it.
So
I should drink this. So I have a
glass.
Do another shot. There you go.
I did bring an empty glass, so you. Again, you don't. I can't believe you did that.
This is a super ignorant question.
Sure.
But this is like Jim Beam, right? Old Jim.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I don't know, there could have been a different or it could have been like an old.
An old label. Yeah, there's a lot of old labels that sound similar to some newer labels. This is the original Beam 80 proof, 10 years, and it's actually kind of surprising because it actually says 10 years old. So back then, oftentimes the age was listed in months because it sounded bigger. Right, you wanted a 150-month-old whiskey versus
it's
a
like when your
10-year-old
kid
whiskey.
is like 37 months, and you're like 3 years.
Yeah, basically.
Stop.
So this actually says 10 years, which is a little surprising, especially for 1980. and this is 80
So
proof.
this was 10 years in the 80s. So
This is was made in the
math.
70s.
Do math.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to come up with that number.
I didn't say it because I'm still not confident with it.
I'm gonna steal your second glass. Made in the 70s, bottled in the 80s, and cut to 80 proof. So this is for sure gonna be a little bit lighter and easier to shoot if that were to be your decision.
No Coke
Thinking
packs.
about it. I know. I'm hurting. It's been a long day. I watched the Astros lose yesterday.
Didn't we all? Man, so we try not to talk about it too much before. Like, I met Dusti downstairs, the whole elevator ride up, where like, let's not talk about the
game?
Astros. Yeah.
Oh, since this will be out on Friday also.
No, because I don't want to talk about it because it makes me sad.
Well, it also,
What,
you don't want
about
to jinx
how we
anything, right?
won
Is jinx
the World
racist?
Series the other day? This is very I don't know.
Oh my gosh, that's a
See, I
jinx.
can't believe you just
No,
did that.
what is
So
that? What
mad
this
at
is
you
about?
right now.
Oh,
This
I don't know if we can
airs-
be friends.
can I be honest?
Are you
I've
taking
been
Uber home?
I've been to 12 games in my life. I think I tried to figure out the other day. I've never seen the Astros win.
Really?
I went.
So don't go. He's like, I got tickets for
Don't.
tonight.
You're not
this
going tonight.
this year I went to one season game and I don't remember what it was, but we left early. And then I went to game 1 of the Yankee series where we got our asses kicked. And then I went yesterday.
You went to
I went to game 6
What a piece
and
of shit.
yeah, and I was thinking about going tonight, but yeah, that's what everyone telling me.
Maybe not do that.
But also game 7. How would you not go if you had a way to go? Even
I
though
wouldn't go if I thought it would make us lose.
yeah.
Do you
Out
think?
of
Oh, you
spite.
think you really think that I'm gonna make them lose?
They paid those guys millions of dollars for their athletic ability, but they lost.
Then they're like, Andrew
because-
showed up because
This is
Andrew
totally. I was in an article in the Chronicle during the last right before the last Rhodes series started.
Look at her
because,
brag. Look at that humble brag right
yeah,
now.
exactly. Well, because the writer who knew it is a friend of mine and knew like how I'm obsessed with like wearing my
Sure,
hat.
Texas
but we talk-
Monthly did a piece on me last.
Yeah,
but go
it's
ahead.
okay.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I was in Houston Magazine once.
So no, the reason I bring
He's
it up
like, I
is
own
that
the secret group.
I said that. Yeah, I said
was on
that
the
same
cover.
exact thing in the interview because I was like, it was the last game 7 of the NLDS, and I was in Wisconsin because I was going to see the Packers play the next day. But we were in this house, and every time we went up, to, like I had to be like sitting in this house with like my lying on the ground with like my arms crossed and my hat on, and but I said that same thing in the interview. Where I was like, it doesn't matter anything that the Astros have done in their lifetime to be good at baseball. All that matters is I'm lying like this in this house with this hat on, and that's why we won the game.
that's
It's
the
like
only
this
reason
weird.
why I
It's like
won.
the weird ego. Like
Altuve's got nothing.
Yeah.
superstitions are
little
actually
piece of shit.
incredibly like egotistical when you think about it.
Of course, it's.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's how
So
superstition
I
works.
should go then. Is what-
You're not going.
It would be really funny if you purposefully were like out of spite, like this is totally unrelated, but I'm looking into solar, so I filled out one of those online forums, and it was like, fill in this information about your house, and we'll tell you if solar's good for you. And I'm thinking I'm gonna hit that button, and it's gonna tell me a breakdown of why solar is good for my house. Instead, they're like, we'll call you later, and they call me
course.
immediately
It's a sales pitch.
within 10 minutes. My phone rings. I'm at work, can't answer. In a meeting, they call me twice. They call me 3 times. And at the 4th time, I thought, you know what? I don't need solar. Out of spite, I refuse to answer
You know,
this phone.
screw the environment.
I'm not going to block the number. For the next 3 days, they called me. I want to say 3-4 times a day.
Good
It would be
Lord.
amazing if you got season tickets to the Astros just to like prove out of spite that you're not the reason they lose, and then which is what you did in 2007 when we were the worst.
I was thinking about starting a GoFundMe, a fund that will stop me from going to this game. This is like, I might
Pay
as
me
well.
to
I
not
can't.
go?
Yeah.
That is
Might
definitely
as
the
well come
comic
up.
in you.
That's the whole reason why I didn't get a ticket to Game 6 because I was like the last when I went to the game in the NLDS we lost. I don't want to go back to that stadium until the season's over because I'm so scared because I was like I'm just too scared because if we were there and I lost I'd be so sad.
All right. So you're telling me not to go. A hypothetical situation. Let's say I had 2 tickets to go.
I wouldn't go.
And I was like, Dusty, do you want to go after the game? After this,
that would be so
But
hard.
But I have to go, and you know that I will.
I would
lose.
also I have to go and I'm convinced that I'm bad luck so I'm an idiot. I know.
So you,
I know.
okay, so you would go.
No, I mean I'm an idiot that I would really I don't
Can
know.
you imagine not going to the? Imagine,
Dusty,
imagine.
what if I have
this.
tickets to
Game
Game 7?
Imagine
You will
after
see somebody win the World Series in person,
and you refuse to go.
and like, oh, somebody will win. It'll be epic
I don't
regardless.
There's
even
some
hate,
weird
the thing
random-
is I don't even hate the Nats. Like, If I saw the Nats one, I wouldn't be like so like upset. Like if I saw the Yankees one, I'd just be like, word I can't say on this radio this, but
I saw
Does
a
it rhyme with
shirt.
Paul Wall?
it definitely rhymes with Paul Wall.
I'm a comic.
I saw a national shirt yesterday that I thought was very funny because it had the W. Everyone calls it Walgreens.
Yeah.
I don't care, but it had just said the W and then it said Nationals, and all I could think of white Nationals. I was like, what a weird shirt for you to wear around. Just very strange.
Very strong flex.
Yeah.
So what do you think? I like
this.
Dusty Beam.
Oh,
It's old. I mean, it's not amazing. but
Dusty
it's
Beam.
Dusty
That's
Beam.
my stripper name.
That's
actually.
my
It's
porn
weird.
name. It's my porn name. So
Everybody think it would be Dusty Rhodes, but here we are.
I work in
It's
aviation.
not
Some
bad.
of the crazy names we get for pilots.
Oh, really?
There's a guy that flies regularly with us. His name is Dick Pound, and I think you're in the wrong industry.
So why not go by Richard at that point?
My dad's name was Richard, and whenever I get mad at him, I'd call him Richard Head.
Dick Rhodes?
Yeah.
Old Dick Rhodes.
Mm.
Now I just want to make jokes where we say the name, but it's obviously not saying the name, but we're not going to get bleeped from radio because we're
Sure. I found out a long time ago that you can't say butthole on the radio. And I know that joke.
Butthole?
That joke's been beat to death. But I can't say.
Can you say beehole?
I can call you a butthole. I can say you're being a butthole, but I can't refer to an actual butthole on the
Like
radio.
nice butthole.
Oh.
Can't
Yeah,
say
this is
that.
all being censored, or no? I don't know how that. That's what we censored last year. What's his name? Andrew? No, the guy that hands our.
Richard.
The guy that
Richard.
Andrew
Butthole.
Monitor or something.
Dick butthole.
What's the guy that edits the show for radio?
Michael Carroll and Tyler Scott.
Okay, Tyler Scott. That's what I'm thinking of. I think he's the one who told me that you can't say butthole on the radio.
Wow.
So
Well,
good luck with
he's
that,
gonna
Tyler.
be busy
Yeah.
this segment.
TJ Miller, we had that conversation when he was on, so that was like
I
6
love
months
TJ.
ago.
Oh.
He is a wild ride.
He's a character. He's been a friend of mine for a long time, and he's just been nothing but an adventure every time I've ever hung out with him.
Do you ever, and this may seem like a total, what's the word, civilian question. Do you
Think
ever-
about him sexually.
Just about his
No.
beehole.
Do you ever? Do you ever feel weird texting other comedians? I mean, maybe not at your level, but I have TJ's number.
Yeah.
And when he came, he texted me, and I felt weird texting him. It felt like dating. I totally missed the dating scene completely because I met my wife on MySpace. So that was before.
Oh yeah, the
that-
original dating app.
Yeah, eHarmony was around, but we didn't go that route. But
He
if
just messaged her for months until she said, okay, fine.
you remember that, that's weird that you remember that story.
Posted on my wall.
She finally settled. But no, I feel weird texting back. I feel like because I'm one of those people that will text incomplete thoughts. So like if you ask me a question, I'm like, yeah, I'll be there, and send it, and then the next one, like in 15 minutes I'll be there. Like I'll send a
Like 10 to say one sentence.
Correct. 10
I'm
to
with
say-
you. I do the exact same thing.
and
I love it.
I feel so. I mean, Brendan Schaub too. Like Brendan Schaub, I wait for him to text me. He got offered to do something involving whiskey, not letting anything out of the bag, and I feel
Fight whiskey. It's a fight.
do you know?
No, I think
maybe not because you own a comedy venue.
no.
But
I will say when I first started like interacting with comics, I would say probably some weird interactions via phone. There are some still weird ones. Pauly Shore called me once, and I was like, "This is weird.
Yeah.
Stop calling me." Andy Dick once called me so many times that I was like, "This is insane." I was like, I was annoyed. I was
Sure.
annoyed at Andy Dick.
you know
And
why?
I was like, "This is
probably
fucking
wanted
strange."
to adventure through your Youngblood.
Oh yeah, he's a weirdo. I've
He's-
heard nothing but bad things about him.
Crazy stories.
But
about
it was
him.
all about booking. He's just weird. But with like TJ, when we became friends, he used to send me like videos out of nowhere. Has he ever sent you weird?
No,
just
no.
weird
He
videos of
made
him
a
like
recommend-
making faces or like I'm like, all right.
he made a recommendation to me about a over-the-counter vitamin to help because when I drink whiskey, it causes me to burp a lot. And he's like, it's acid reflux. I never even thought about it. I just always would burp off mic. And so I bought what he recommended, and then we were like the most dad conversation ever, texting about multivitamins. And so, but I feel like an awkwardness that I haven't felt since I was dating women, right? So
Yeah.
it's a thing that you don't think about doing until someone's,
Until you're in love again.
A big, correct. Yeah.
That's what
a big famous movie star guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it is weird at first, but then as you have more friends that are like, oh, you're just a guy.
Yeah.
And now I'm also a guy, and we're just normal dudes.
Two guys
Yeah.
in love.
Just-
Yeah.
I think that was the same way. Like
It
when
was
I was
so
a
weird.
journalist, like the more and more I interviewed people that were like famous or big, the more and more I like became more relaxed with it because I'm like, yeah, you're just a person. Like at the end of the day, like you do cool stuff, which is great, but like you're still just like me.
Well, I get the impression that you are actual real friends with Mo.
Oh yeah,
Like you guys actually come off as so it's a different dynamic than
Mo. And the weird thing with Mo is I think it's because of the way my relationship with Mo has progressed. Is like I knew him before he was who he is now.
Sure.
So for me, my interactions with him is like I'm just talking with my friend. You know what I mean? Like I'm just
there's
like,
no you're not there's not a level difference.
Yeah, exactly.
and
It just like feels like
a dynamic.
Yeah, exactly. Because like, and also because Mo is so great, he doesn't hold things over people. So it's not like he's constantly reminding me.
Oh, I'm
Mo.
famous. I
Yeah,
have a
exactly.
Netflix
He just
special.
is
Sure.
like asking me about me. And we're
Like
talking
I was
about
in the Houston Chronicle the other day, or
yeah,
like whatever
I just,
article.
yeah. So like I think that because of that's the reason with Mo that it's just like that's someone who I just see is like it's like with Matt Broussard, who's a comic that started here. Like when I talk to Matt about stuff, Matt's like, well, he's not super famous, but he's big as a comedian. But when I talk to Matt, I'm not intimidated because Matt's my friend and like
Sure.
I know about him. So it's like it's different than if it were like I just met someone. But even when I meet comics now, rarely and it's also weird because it seems like I remember I got to open for Janine Garofalo, but Janine Garofalo was just like the nicest human being. Like,
Oh,
I remember
really?
Dale
It
Cheeseman
is.
and I were opening it for her, and she's like
Also from Houston, a lot of people don't know that.
Really?
yeah, she's
Yeah.
from Houston. Yeah, she was backstage and she like gets there, and Dale and I are just kind of like standing off to the side, like not making eye contact. And Andrew introduces us, and we're like, "Hi," and he's like, "Here's your green room." And like she walks in the green room, and she turns around and looks at Dale and I, and she was like, "Are you guys coming in?" She's like, "This is for everyone." Like, you know what I mean? And she was like so welcoming.
Sometimes
and cool.
that's not the case though.
No.
Sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes the green room is for the headliner.
Let's think who's the worst.
Oh, I know exactly.
Who?
I like. Who do I think?
No
is
one
the
watches
worst?
this. Please give me something.
No,
juicy.
yeah. I don't want to say it because I know people
What's
who are
it
the
rhyme
worst.
with?
Last name rhymes with Harry.
Oh yeah, I was thinking.
Yeah, exactly. Because
Yeah.
then and the only reason, like,
That's-
I know
that's
that
a
is
really
because
difficult
of,
one.
No, it's not. Yeah,
uh,
you just got to think a little bit, and then
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say anything because he's coming to the secret.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, is he coming soon?
We'll tell you on the break. Yeah, but I only know about his terribleness because of you. Because
yeah.
you told me that. Like, I remember him coming. I was asking you.
He's
I was
just
like,
awkward.
Yeah, when he was there, and he was like complaining about.
If I guess right
food.
now and it's right, are you gonna laugh it off? or-
I will cough,
okay, all right.
but I feel like I have to cough
No.
anyway.
Jim Carrey. You
That
said
would
Harry.
be
I
great.
like-
I would love to meet Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
I've
Berry.
heard he's that awful though. I
Really?
read
Drew
an
Carey?
article.
I heard he was
no,
super
not
nice.
Drew. Jim.
Oh, you heard he was bad?
I just read an article. Every time I read an article, it ruins someone I love.
Well, so
That's all it is.
Stop reading,
here's my
kids.
thing about
Reading
Jim.
is awful.
And I know we've got to take another break. Is this the third or the second? This is two. So we've got plenty of time.
It does seem like 3 though.
It does feel like three. I know. It's like pulling teeth. No, there is something about Jim I feel horrible for, and I feel like when you get to, it's like I feel the same way about Dave. I feel like you reach a level of celebrity that it almost ruins your life completely, and there's a sense of recoil, of retraction of that ridiculous life.
Yeah.
because it's so
He talks about
depressing.
that. Chappelle
sure.
talked about that on the what is it called? The guy with it's the interview, the Actor Studio. He talks about like his like when he went to Africa and like what happened, but he talks about like and he mentions like other celebrities like when Mariah Carey kind of went off, but he was like when you're given like that much money, like it does do something to your mind.
Oh yeah,
course.
it ruins
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So I have a little behind the curtain question.
Oh, I thought you were introducing a new whiskey.
Oh no, we can't.
he was moving a bottle, and he's like, "So I have."
I was like, okay,
I was
so
like, "All right, no, let's hear the behind."
It was
the
in my way.
curtain
It was in my way.
question.
So whenever you
Oh
get through that, when you get that drink, what?
Like, if you're just shooting all of this.
I don't know how he's doing it. I wouldn't
So
do that with this,
funny.
by the way.
I
This
mean,
is,
I know
It's
you.
a Scotch, huh?
This is Indian whiskey, but it's done exactly like Scotch. It's Amrut. They're one of the sponsors of the show. It's fantastic, but it is high proof. Yeah, I don't know if you want to
I
shoot
hate
it.
Scotch. I'll be
Oh, really?
honest, but I will try.
So this
it.
is sherried. You're going to get a lot of dried red wine influences. So, no?
I feel like you guys are just looking at me. Weird.
No,
like, what's
I'm
she
doing
gonna
with
do
you.
with it now? Like I never. You know what? I have been doing this whole thing that I've never done with whiskey. Is gone like this. Like, is this
Yeah.
a thing that people do?
Yeah?
They do this,
Oh, I apologize.
That's okay.
Sorry.
and then I smell it.
You smell it?
But I don't think whiskey's ever smelled good. I just like, oh man, this feels like it's gonna stink.
It's
In my opinion, I'm sorry.
Sure.
It's only Scotch that I dislike.
They're sponsors of
I've
the
had-
show. Let's.
Oh no, sorry. Which one's the sponsor?
No, I'm just
Cut that
kidding.
part out.
Is Jim Beam the sponsor? They were a sponsor of a show that I hosted every Tuesday, and then they dropped us.
Yeah. So,
So come back.
there is the
like
listeners
this.
on my
It's
show
like sweet and
who know about Amrut and they know about sherried scotches. They're gonna love this, regardless of how you feel about it. So I'm curious, Houston.
It's warm. It's like I drank fire water.
Yeah.
That's why they called it
That's
that.
why I think
Yeah.
Ushkabe, water of life. Yeah,
I will say I really like it.
My tongue just went numb.
yeah.
that-
It's
not
going
used to
to.
drinking
It's going
Scotch?
to.
Was that
Drink
normal?
slower. Drink slower. So
Oh no!
bring it-
Look, I just took
bring
a
it-
sip. I still
mean,
got
like,
it.
Yeah.
most of your experience with whiskey and your opinion is going to be based on how fast you consume it. So I would slow down. But that being said, when new comedy venues pop up in Houston, does that make anyone nervous? Did you face that whenever
We
you
haven't yet. Honestly, since we opened, other ones have just closed. So we're like, yeah, they're gone. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I know
Actually, I
Warehouse
think it's
Live
great.
was doing
That was us. That was me.
right.
Yeah,
and
so-
then when you started your own thing, the reason why I ask is because there seems to be a gap difference in the room size between, say, the Improv, which is what 400
Yep.
people, and how big can you guys go?
We do 250.
Okay, and then the next would be like Revention, which does like 2,500.
Yeah, but there's also warehouse. Every once in a while, I'll still do shows at warehouse. Yeah, I mean that's one of the ways Secret Group started is we were booking just like other venues, and we're like, why are we doing this when we could just have our own place and make it all the money for ourselves?
Sure.
Probably should have just kept the original, but
Yeah. Well, I'm just,
no, it's great. I love it. It's just it's. I think owning a bar when you get into it, you're like, this is gonna be so cool, and then like you learn about all the stuff you have to deal with, and you're like, oh fuck. Sorry.
yeah.
But no, you get there's
a
just a
learning
lot
curve.
to it, and it's not like all fun and drinking like you think it's gonna be.
So do you have to track down the acts? Like how do when like let's say you guys just recently had Greg Fitzsimmons,
Yeah.
right? So how does that work?
A lot of times now, because I've been doing it long enough, people come to me.
Okay.
They've heard it or they've been referred to, and so every week I'll get an email like, hey, so and so referred you, or just like their agents hit me up.
Sure.
Like, they're like, hey, we want to do a tour this year, and they're like, all right, well, here's your Houston guy, and we connect like that.
Sure. And is it all based on room size?
A lot of it, yeah.
And like your ability to obviously to pay them, right? So
Yeah, room size, and then like, it's just like music. If a band's coming to town, they will hit up like 6 venues, and they'll be like, hey, we're coming to town, give us an offer, and then you have to
Fight for it.
decide, all right, how much is enough where we'll get the show, but we also won't lose our ass on the show. And so it's just all these other people competing for one show. When you get relationships with agents or a comic, then you don't have to do that anymore because they're like, we were just going to go to you. Just this is what
Sure.
we need. If you can give us that, then we'll go to you. We won't talk to anybody else.
Because they'll come to you regardless if you're going to do it at the Secret Group. They're just like, can you book this person somewhere?
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of times, yeah. Or sometimes we'll do like multiple shows, and with having the place like the Secret Group is we can offer more money sometimes in that 250 cap room than I could if I took it to like Warehouse Live or White Oak with more people. because
the venue
there's-
costs so much.
there's a bunch of venue costs, and there's a bunch of different advertising that we don't have built in at that venue. So it's like
Do comedy shows go to White Oak?
sometimes I
yeah.
opened up
I
for Matt Bronger there.
Yeah.
Ding donger. How many people fit there?
600 in the big room, 200 in the 600 in the big room. I think 150 in the small room.
There's a venue in Houston I think would be perfect for literally the middle ground that's not being covered by other venues.
Mm-hmm.
So like 1,000 to 1,500 people, not quite. Good.
No, you're still trying.
He's still trying.
I mean, I'll drink it.
You can stick to bourbon. So I brought some Texas.
Okay.
I
You
actually
can
brought.
dump-
I
you
actually,
can do the dump
do you like
glass.
Want me
rum?
to put this in your glass?
Do you like rum? I'll take it.
There you go.
I'll
Do you-
drink
do you
it.
like
I like
rum?
it.
I like rum a little bit, but I'll be honest, I really like that Jim Beam, and I would
Yeah.
just
Well,
drink
here, have
that,
some more Jim
just
Beam.
Top her off.
So I have a pretty good track record
Fill it up.
of really
I'm
endorsing.
not gonna do that.
Endorsement. I'm interested to hear this.
Really saying something is good. This Amrut may not be your bag, but I those watching that know Amrut will know that this is
Yeah, and
well
it.
loved
I-
within the community.
I will say this: is I'm not a fan of Scotch, but I
This is a
tasted
Scotch
it,
drinkers, yeah.
and it tastes like good Scotch, which I don't like.
Yeah, hey, that's
So-
fair.
But I can tell it's not
Sure.
bad.
Well, I Texas and Amrut we're very much in love with, but I totally get it. My wife, I couldn't get her into rum forever. Couldn't get her into peated whiskey forever, and that's recently changed. So that is
Excited to try that.
Balcones. Balcones, they do their own rum, and for those who are Balcones fans, they actually started doing dunder pits for their rum, which is a really interesting technique that's used in the Caribbean, specifically in Jamaica, where they will literally, so typically like Buffalo Trace, right? So Buffalo Trace, classic example of bourbon. What Buffalo Trace will do is they add boxed dry yeast. So they make bourbon. It's a very wide scale manufacturer type way of making bourbon. You can't go wrong. Dry boxed yeast. In the Caribbean, what they do, being mostly a very historically impoverished area, they will dig pits in the ground and throw the molasses in there, and over a period of like, let's say 2 weeks, it'll attract wild yeast in the air, and it'll just grow into this disgusting fungus, funky, syrupy, and then they'll distill it into rum. And it is historically a very well-loved tradition in rum, but though a very interesting process. And Balcones has started doing this, where they've created these pits that they're letting wild yeast come to the sugar cane and then distilling and making rum out of it. So it's something that for those who are huge rum heads would find interesting,
That is crazy.
but it's a very disgusting
Yeah, but that's what I
process.
always think of whenever
That is
someone
gross.
tells me about like how any sort of alcohol product is made. I'm just like, how?
It's kinda
could
gross,
that-
right?
But I'm like, how is this not a health? Like how is
Because
like, you know what I mean?
distillation is purification, right? So what happens if you drop your toothbrush in the toilet? What do you do to it?
You throw it out.
Well, okay.
is that what
Also,
you're
you
supposed
said
to do?
doo doo.
Sorry. Okay, so
What do?
if you didn't want to throw it out, you would boil it, right? So distillation
Why
is...
don't you just get a new toothbrush?
I'm trying to paint a picture that makes sense.
I think,
okay?
yeah.
All right, okay.
So,
All right.
so let's say
But
you're poor, you
so
can't
let
afford
me
a
ask
new
you this:
toothbrush.
have you dropped your
No.
in a toilet
I
and
don't
then
use a
boiled
toothbrush.
it?
The alcohol
You don't use
sanitized.
it?
I'm just
Okay.
kidding. I'm
It's
worried
just
about
my
teeth.
finger.
Yeah.
Ever since I dropped in the toilet, I stopped using it.
So, I mean, that's the smartest answer. I don't know why I thought for a second you would agree with boiling it, but you boil a toothbrush.
I just put bleach on it.
Distillation is purification. There's a company, this company, Copper and Kings. So when they have, and I love this part of the episode, but when you go visit their distillery in Louisville, after you're done taste and you dump it out, or there's something called spit buckets where you literally spit what's in your mouth into a bucket. They've been collecting it into a barrel, and then they distilled that and made it into whiskey. So
Oh, that is disgusting.
it is horrible, right? But it's,
That is
and it's
gross.
but distillation.
tried it?
Not yet. I think it's aging, is what he
Oh,
said.
okay.
So it's currently in a barrel aging somewhere, but they distilled their spit barrel
That is disgusting.
of people's leftover whiskeys and leftover brandies, and then but distillation is purification. So when you distill, you
makes
turn
sense.
it into vapor, and that vapor, like you're boiling out any potential harm. So it sounds disgusting, but it tastes delicious.
When I used to,
it sounds disgusting. It is.
Plot twist, this is the spit barrel, and you already drank some. No, I'm just
hell
kidding.
yeah. When I used to bartend, we would if someone was being a jerk or like a customer was being an asshole.
Well, okay.
No, it's not as bad as you think.
Don't order a drink. It'd be
But
rude at the
we
secret
would
group.
no, this is not secret group. I don't bartend there. I am over bartending. I was never.
I want to
great.
meet Brando, by the way.
I was never great at bartending. I was so bad at it, but I was fun, and that's what mattered. But if someone was a jerk, or like if someone was being a creep to like a girl, we would always like convince the girl like, "Hey, just buy this guy a shot. It'll be funny," and we would give them Matt Damon's.
Oh, no.
Matt Damon's are just everything you spill on the mat.
Oh, the mat, the
all
spill
night
mat.
long, and so you would take the mat and you would pour it into a shot glass.
And you watch people drink
Oh, I
this?
would give it to them all the time, and there'd be times where some people would do it, and they're like, "What was that? That was great." I was like, "Yeah, this
It's
is
a
awesome."
special cocktail we
Yeah.
whipped up. I don't know if you ever hung out with her, but she's real good
Never.
about the Irish goodbye.
Oh, not only that. So here's the thing about Dusti. Not only is she good with the Irish goodbye, she is once she has a little bit to drink, she will trick you into giving her ride home. She lives by Boondocks, which is a regular place that we go to, and we'll be at the club, and I'll be like, "You want to go to Boondocks?"
It's right. It's right across.
It's like 3 blocks
on
from her
Westheimer,
house.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Yeah, I'll go to Boondocks with you," because I don't
Purposely,
want to go
so
by
she had to
myself.
ride home.
Oh no, we have literally got out of the Uber, and she goes, "I'll see you later." I'm
No,
like,
that night
"What?
because I was going
Are
to
you
get laid. I didn't go home. I jumped into another Uber and went to
She has
meet up
literally
with a gentleman caller.
has
Recommended to go to a bar.
Yeah.
used
I have
me
done that,
as
though.
a ride to get there,
Yeah.
and then it's like, "All right, I'm out," and I was like, "We just got here."
So she could,
trust me.
So she
I've-
could go
We've
rob.
We've gone to
but that's
many
what it
of
was. We've got-
bars
many times
together.
this we've gone to Boondocks and he's like, "You want to get a shot?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll take a shot." He gets me a shot. I'm like, "All right, I gotta go home," and I just like leave and walk out.
You would think there's more of a. Knowing you're a teacher, you think there's more of a humanity to you, but but also you're a comic,
She's
which
a
is the opposite.
cold-hearted ice queen. She used to be called the open mic ice queen. Was that
It
the
was
name?
So funny. So when I first started running open mic, I just hated everyone because everyone was just the worst.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so,
It's
like,
soul-sucking.
Yeah, and I just
Watching
and
people
I
work
was like,
through
and
their-
at the time I was dating a guy who didn't like the fact that I did comedy and regularly like got mad at me for it. So it was like this weird relationship I had with comedy and running an open mic. And I remember one morning waking up to a text message from Andrew and Zayed where they were like, "We're at Boone," because there's an open mic. There used to be an open mic, or maybe
Every
there's
Tuesday, still
every
happens.
Tuesday. And like and I woke up that morning and it was like from a text from Zayed and Andrew, and they're like, "Ha ha ha, we just overheard someone at Boondocks call you the Ice Queen." And after that it was like,
It
that's
stuck-
who I
it ran
was.
with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you still doing stand up?
Yeah, all the time. I just got off tour like 3 days ago. I was gone, did like 20 shows, and then all over the country. And then I'm on the festival, and then after the festival that Sunday, I go back on tour for another week.
Is it hard to both run the venue and or is that kind of delegated out to a level that allows you to
No, I mean,
dusty roads and disappear for a few weeks?
yes and no. There are ups and downs.
So
for
dust
sure.
on those roads.
There are ups and downs on it. Being both a booker and a comic, I think is very weird, and it makes it so I don't like to go up at open mics here because then it's just a bunch of comics coming up to me like, "Hey, man,
Well,
think I
feel
could
like
get on
he
that
also-
show?"
I
You know, and
I
so
feel
like,
the other part of it too is like I don't like that. I don't experience as much because I just run a mic and have a show at the secret group. But I also feel like when I feel like bad for Andrew, it's that I feel like he gets scrutinized so much more when he is on stage, just because he does have what he
Right, because of the level
and
that you're at.
like because like I got that a lot when I first started doing comedy in Houston, because when I started I was like one of the few females, and guys all the time would just casually say like, "Well, you got that," because like you're a girl.
Sure.
And I was like, and they need, and I was just like, then this would be coming from someone who'd been doing comedy for 2 years versus me who'd been doing it for 5. And I
Sure.
feel like sometimes like Andrew faces that heat where I'm just like, that's so unfair.
You're held to a higher standard.
Because someone
Yeah, I'm
wouldn't
okay with
take,
it,
yeah,
though.
exactly. Like you
At
grow
at that
used to it
point-
after a while where you're like, who cares? But it's always like that thing that it's just like, dude, like no one gets like, that's just not true. Like, and also, like, I was like, also, are you listening?
what's
to him?
not
He's,
true?
like, funny that he's only getting stuff because he's funny. That's not true at all. He gets stuff. That he's getting stuff just because he owns a club. He gets stuff
Oh,
because
sure.
he's funny.
I agree
and,
with that.
And that's the same thing like people say to me all the time, like, well, people give you stuff because like you run Rhodes. And I was like, that's not even a lot. Like
Well,
Rhodes
you may-
is such a
It's big-
small
to
thing.
me, it actually, and I think I'm sure it did to you at one point.
But if you weren't funny, you
It
wouldn't.
becomes
Exactly.
a complex.
Yeah.
To the point where I will literally not put myself on shows at the club because I don't want to deal with that. Like if I'm doing a show on a headliner at the club, it's because that person asked me to do it.
Oh,
and that's
sure,
almost
'cause
the
it's
only
your
time I'll do it.
venue
Because
and
I just don't. I never want it to come across that I'm giving myself things. Everything that I've ever done comedy wise, whether it be touring or festivals I get on or whatever, it's always like I try to make it clear like I want this because of I'm doing these jokes, not because of anything else.
Sure,
And
no.
I do my best to.
You have an unfair advantage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which also has probably hurt me, I think, in a lot of ways, because I talk to some people and they're like, dude, you own a club. You should just go up whenever you want.
Yeah, that's what people say about Rhodes too. They're like, why aren't you just like hosting it every night?
I'm
I
like,
was like, because
no.
that's not why I created
Yeah,
Rhodes.
Sure, sure.
Rhodes wasn't
I don't
about
want
me.
it,
It
yeah.
was about creating a space for comics to like train
Do
and
you
be able
realize
to do
how
comedy.
beautiful that is and how you don't get credit for it? Do you realize
I
that
don't
that
do, but I
happens
think,
so
like-
often in these types? It happens in the whiskey world where somebody will do something completely selfless and write it off as something completely selfish, and you create something like the open mic at Rhodes, and instead of thinking Dusti's doing everything she can on top of how hard it is to be a female in a local comedy scene.
Yeah, I think that's why I started off with the ice queen persona because I just immediately was
love
like,
it.
let's like cut through the fat.
She's also Dusty can be very direct, and that's a great like way to be. But I think some people just have too
Especially
much.
if you're a female, because if you're
Yeah.
a female, get ready for it, and you are direct, and like then you're a bitch. Like
Oh.
that's just it. Like there's no, and then like that's such a thing.
But that's
that-
true.
Yeah,
though.
exactly. Yeah, but you guys are. But I think like that's the thing too is like so instead of them looking at me trying because as a teacher like I very much believe that it's like I want to give you like a direct like
Feedback.
direct instruction and feedback so that there's no like I don't want you to be guessing about it. And sometimes when people come up to me I'm very direct with like nope, this is how it works. And also I think like part of the reason Rhodes is run the way it is because it is the teacher in me that's like I want to keep it fair and I want to keep it this way. So it's very hard to like bend the rules because I don't want to do that because like I don't like then it's like fair for everyone.
But you're not. I wouldn't say that you're. And you may.
I think I'm also just intimidating as a person.
I don't know about that. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
She
We've
does.
never-
She's good at the punch, like the.
Oh,
she used
I'm-
to punch a
I-
lot.
I know, I
She was
got-
like
You
the
were big on
Elaine.
the-
She was the Elaine.
Yeah,
like
I stopped doing that
she
because
used to
like I
punch.
felt bad. I used to do that a
Oh,
lot, and I really did. Like I scaled that back a lot because
Yeah, I thought it
it
was
wasn't until I
great.
You're
started
at the
comedy.
physical-
Yeah, it wasn't until well then
up,
like
bro?
well what's funny
Yeah.
is
right in the arm.
right around like a few years ago, like this is a brag and I sound like an idiot, but I don't care. Like I started working out and I
We'll
got
be the
stronger
judge of
than I
that.
used to
Sure.
be.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
then I would punch people. They would actually be like, "Stop, that's painful." Whereas before
You're trying to show off.
that wasn't a problem. Well, it's just like I was like, oh,
My-
I'm not a weak person anymore, so I need to like.
You're
Scale back to
overcompensating
physical.
so that you can work in the conversation that you worked out.
She was
I work out
Lenny
a
from
lot.
Mice and Men.
My,
That we just,
I just know when
she
to
just-
stop petting the mice.
I don't think that I'm I would say like a bro guy, like a fraternity guy, but there's one thing that me and our couples group does. Like my wife has 5 sisters and we're in this like group chat on WhatsApp. We ice each other. Like the game tag, but it's like it's this 3 or 4 couples all together where we will hide a Smirnoff Ice at 3 o'clock in the morning on your car or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And my brother-in-law Sean, who I love, and I love Katie, but he has started hitting the gym again, and he was someone that was extremely popular in college, very good-looking guy. But he's a dad now, and the body's a dad bod. Just we're not
Nothing wrong with that.
There-
It's in
there
right
ain't
now.
nothing wrong with it.
It's
There
our
ain't nothing wrong with
time.
it. But the whole game is when you get iced, you videotape it and send the video to our group chat. And he just happened to be getting ready for work.
Didn't have
and
a shirt on.
Didn't have a shirt on.
Wait, he downed.
And
He
he-
downed a Smirnoff Ice before he
So-
went to work.
So, well, I mean,
You had to. Those are the rules.
those are the
Them's
them
the
the rules. So no, that's the teacher in you. Stop being a narc. But he was shirtless, and it was very clear. Like, okay, I know you've been in the gym for the past 2 weeks, like every day, but you're clearly showing off that you've been working out, and you wanted to show a little bit of that not so much sagging anymore, a little bit more of that form. That's what you just did right now. You male formed the.
I male formed showed that my tits weren't sagging.
Yes. Sure. We'll go with
that?
that.
Oh, I guess
We'll go
not.
with
He
that.
wrote it
You can
down.
say- he
That's
wrote it-
out.
Jack writes things down just in case.
Just in
if you
case.
can't say it.
Okay.
He's never sure himself. You know,
I
he
like
doesn't
that.
drink.
Who does? He doesn't.
He
drink?
doesn't drink.
That's okay.
He's like 22.
That's
I mean, no, it's not okay.
I think it's fine.
wow.
To each their own.
Look at
For
this.
religious
Look at this peer
reasons, but it's like
pressure.
For
very
religious
fat.
reason-
I'm just
Oh, okay.
exactly. No, that's what I'm saying.
He
Like,
doesn't believe in God. He said.
yeah, I've.
They actually said there is no God. Get his quote right.
Sorry.
No, I always find it fascinating when someone who doesn't drink and it's not religious. It's just they just don't. And he's so handsome and svelte and 22 and
Svelte. What a great
I know
word.
a lot of people that don't drink, but there's usually like, oh no, I was very bad at it. Like that's the reason.
when people say that, it kind of makes me lose respect for them that you can't. Like when women say, I love the, TikTok, the Bain.
Yeah, I
of-
think my 10-year-old has one.
Yeah, they're horrible. But there's like this video going around of this girl who's just like,
Oh, it's the app thing. Okay.
Yeah,
it's an app where it's like,
I got you, yeah.
and
Some of my
she
students
was
have it.
like, you don't want to piss me off. That's one thing you need to know about me. And like
I think
everything,
I've seen this video.
everything about that screams unhealthy mental
Yeah.
thought process. The fact that it's like your thing, it's your identity. Like you don't want to make me mad.
Yeah.
That's not.
Ugh.
It's not good. It's not good.
Yeah, but alcohol's a drug, and sometimes it's very hard. I think. Right?
I don't know.
No, I don't know. I love it. Listen, I'm an addict.
You're about to. It's like I'm about to shoot this. Oh my
Yep,
God.
we had on a couple. I've said this a lot recently, but we had on a couple doctors from the Baylor College of Medicine. It's actually extremely difficult.
another?
Yes, of course.
I don't know.
You're not gonna try the rum? Oh, you don't like? You said you don't like rum either. I'm excited to try
You know
this
what
rum.
You know what the only thing I drink in life is?
You were just drinking all of his.
I'm
That's
sorry.
fine.
Is
No,
this,
that's fine. Again, that's a teacher in her. She's like, be respectful.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're like, this is for all those ice queen.
Do you ever get upset if do anyone in your class always misses Rhodes? Or if someone says Dusti, is it gonna?
So the kids this year call me D-Row because they think it's funny, and I kind of I love this class, so they get away with a lot more than students used to. I don't care if they call me. I don't want to call me Dusty because I hate it when teachers like call me by my first name because I'm so cool.
Sure.
It's like, come on.
Like you're trying a bit hard,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And because I don't like it when they call me Miss. I'm just like, just call me Rhodes. Because what I don't like and the only thing I don't allow or won't respond to is Miss. Because I'm just like that. Like, because to me, when you I work very hard to learn my students' names very quickly, and I work very hard to learn people's names, and I don't always.
They only have to learn one name.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like because I think that like your name is so much of like recognizing that you are a person. And so like when they call me Miss, it's like I'm just a person in the room. Because I always remember I was tutoring once. We did like these like group tutorials where anyone could come to your tutorial, and I was talking to this student, and I asked her, I was like, who's your teacher? And she's like, I don't know, some white lady. And then I looked at one of my students. I go, this is why I do not let you call me Miss. Because I don't I want them to like recognize that I'm a person and I'm a human being. And when you just call
Sure.
me Miss, you think I'm just someone there out of obligation. I'm like, I'm not. So like that's the only thing that makes me upset. I don't care. Like they call me D-Row or Rhodes. I like them. I say they can call me Teach just because I think that sounds cool. Like,
Sure.
hey, Teach.
Sounds like a 1990s
it just
Saved by the Bell
I just
episode.
think it sounds cool that they're like, and there's like every year there's like 2 or 3 students that just go with it. So like,
Teach.
and I love it. Like I think it's funny. Like
You
just
one
like,
of those teachers you're like, all right, students, I go by Ace. Like you give yourself a nickname.
Can't you just give them a nickname?
Give yourself
it's
a
just
nickname.
like I love I always like I talk about this all the time. I love it when I love the old like quote unquote derogatory terms for women. Like if a guy called me a skirt, I would be like, I'm in love with you.
Is that derogatory?
well, not derogatory, but like it's like not like recognizing that they're
Sure,
It's
an
definitely a little derogatory.
like,
Like,
who's the skirt or
who's the skirt you're
broad?
hanging out with?
I think
Oh,
that's-
broad. Yeah.
But I think I love them. Though.
Is that what you like that?
So great. I think it's so great. If anybody ever if I ever walked in the room and I heard a man go, "Who's the skirt?" I'd be like, "What do you want from me?" Like, you got it, buddy.
There's
funny.
Plus it just sounds
That reminds
cool.
me of your bit about being derogatorily referred to as.
Oh yeah. In bed.
As
yeah.
what?
No, we don't say that. Okay,
Don't say not
Don't
on
take
the
it out of
air.
All right.
That definitely cannot be said on air.
Yeah, Yeah, no, I just like I've always loved like
The older man
I just think
term
it's
for
funny. Yeah,
the
the
dismissive
bird, like a
word.
bird, like just like I think it's funny.
Dames.
Dames
That's a
is
one.
good. Yeah, that's a good one too.
Yeah,
I
I,
like
do
broad.
like Dames.
Broad is good.
Couple of broads.
But the first time I heard someone, because it was like I think I was watching a movie from like the 20s or something, and they like a woman walked in the room. Like I was like, "Who's the skirt?" And I was like, "Is that a thing?"
Have
I
you
love
ever
this.
are you married? You have
No,
kids, right?
I have 2 kids. I am divorced. What?
How old are your kids?
2 and 10.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I also
It's almost like one of them wasn't planned.
all right. So we're out of time. The Come and Take It Comedy Festival next weekend,
November 7th, 8th, and 9th.
7th, 8th, and 9th.
Yep.
You can buy one flat rate ticket or see individual shows.
Yep.
At what website?
Secret Group HTX.com. The Secret Group HTX.com.
The Secret Group. I was trying to
That
that.
one.
I was like, you just got your website
Steven
wrong.
Brand, I would have been like, I would have got that right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Well,
wouldn't
you're not
have
here,
shots either.
Steven. Suck it.
And Steven, I'd like you to come on the show. I'd love to sit down with you because I was thoroughly impressed with the whiskey selection at the Secret Group.
Oh,
It's unlike
Have
any
you-
standard bar setup that you see at most.
have you seen how many bottles we have at the Secret Group? It's insane.
It's
Steven is really bad at saying no. He says every liquor rep walks in like, hey, can you take this? And he's like, oh, yeah, we'll do it. And we have everything. We have so much liquor. It's insane.
You have a really, really good selection for what you would expect to see, just Maker's Mark and Jack Daniels, and
Yeah, we
nothing
have a
special.
lot of whiskey.
Yeah. So, all right, Secret Group next weekend. Come and Take It Comedy Festival, and cheers! I can't cheers with an empty glass. So let me put a little.
Oh my God, I can't believe
Well,
you've
touch.
been doing shots.
Is it,
This
all
rum is
right,
really
all right,
good, by the
game.
way.
I
Let's go to
love
the World
this rum.
Series.
All right, cheers. Let's not go to this series.
Dusty, you want to share Uber?
Balcones' first ever year-round bourbon was an inspiration. It all had to work together. A blend of carefully selected ingredients, Texas-sized pot stills, and creative people determined to find the absolute best way to usher a new whiskey along. When you discover how it pairs with a meaningful moment, suddenly the feeling of drinking great whiskey becomes a whole lot more.